Hello and welcome to Mad Owl Goes Racing, and today we're going to have a first look at Le Mans Ultimate. This has released today into early access. It's 25 quid, was it? Whatever it was. You pay your money, you take your choice. I'm not going to have a huge extensive look at the driving or anything today. I'm just going to have a look through the sort of basic settings, what you get, what's available at the moment. May not even have a look at online today. I'm going to try and keep it reasonably short and sweet, like me. So we'll start off by having a look through the settings. The first thing it asked me to do when I signed in, logged in the first time, I had to set a profile account up. I think I set up an online thing as well with an email address, the usual thing. I don't think it even asked to verify the email, so a bit confusing. But hopefully I put the right email address in anyway. So what we're going to do is have a look through the settings to start with, and what have we got? Gameplay, controls, graphics, sound. One of the other things it did when you first log in is it asked you to set your difficulty between sort of novice, intermediate, and expert or something. Whatever it was a fairly simple set of presets. I presume it's got the same preset names at the top here. For some reason it's got custom, not saved, but no. Professional, advanced, intermediate, and novice, that was it, and rookie. So there's 5 in total. What will it do when I go back to it hasn't gone back to custom. Whatever. We're all learning together, you know. Basically, you can, once you've done all this, you can set all the usual stuff with auto clutch, steering up, etc, etc, etc. So it's got lots and lots and lots of options. So you can sort of have basically whatever you want in the way of various things. It's got interesting things like hold brakes and hold clutch. So if you're on the start line, presumably it'll hold the brakes for you. I think if I hover over it, it does have, yeah, holds the brakes until a pedal is pressed. So yeah, it'll sit there. It does actually have quite good hints up here about what everything's about. So instant replay, how many seconds, presumably? I assume that's seconds, not hours or minutes or something. Things like AI limiter, you can actually change the sort of range of the AI, so it's got lots and lots of options in here. Even your connection type you can adjust to get what you want. And graphics wise, it defaults to not having VSync on, which is always annoying to me because I always run with VSync, even though I've only got a 70Hz monitor. It also, for some bizarre reason, didn't have any AA at all, so I've turned on MSAA 2 times because I did just install it on my own machine and tried it with a gamepad for about 10 minutes earlier today just to see that it was actually working, and it actually worked quite well with a gamepad, I'm surprised to say, although that's within the realms of the cars are trickier to drive than they are in, say, AMS2 if you're talking about the LMDhs, but we'll get to that later. It did look a bit rough without any AA on the other machine, so I've just turned it on there. It seems to work okay. Obviously things like HUD scale you can change, how much you'll be able to play with the HUD, I don't know, so I don't know if you do it wide, normal, okay. Not many options, but graphics wise, lots and lots of options, which is good. Always nice to see plenty of options. You can also set lots of options in terms of, you can have your speed in miles per hour whilst your units are metric, for example, because I'm one of these annoying people who likes to mix their metrics up a bit, if you know what I mean. So I prefer my speed in miles per hour because my brain doesn't have to try and think what's that in real money. So visible vehicles, I assume it'll go up to a much higher number than that, but I'll leave it all. This is basically all as it is default, other than me just changing it to miles an hour. Default view, cockpit, I think you've only got the choice of 3. I found the button that cycled them on my thing because I pressed the button expecting it to be something else, and it changed the camera, which is always interesting because I haven't actually remapped any buttons or anything, so it's just as it came out of the out the gate, so to speak. Lock horizon, all these things where you can change how much your head moves and things like that. I'll probably have a play with later because I find it might have a bit too much in the way of head motion for my liking. I did see that earlier somewhere, but I can't remember where it was. But sound wise, at the moment I've got the UI music volume on. I can turn it down to nothing because don't need it. Master volume, it might be a bit loud at the moment. So I might turn that down to there and see what it sounds like, because it was a bit loud when I just tested it for a split second earlier. But again, plenty of options. And in controls, you've got the usual. You can have a combination by the looks of it of mixing up your wheel and pedals, keyboard, gamepad. It says it's detected my wheel. I've still got it in the compatibility mode. One of these days I will get around to changing every single game I've got back to a proper PC mode, honestly. And a gamepad, so you could sort of mess about with the whole lot. This is whatever it said it to default as, so all of these are the default. I haven't changed a thing, so I think speed limiter is on the button I use this. So I think the one I use as a push to talk for Discord, so I'll probably have to change that, a load of other things. Usual things, headlight pulse, don't map it. Yeah, RWB rules, no fucking flashing. So, there's all the usual things about brake bias, traction control. I'm not even sure which RY plus and minus is. What's RY plus and minus? I might press a few buttons and see what happens as we're driving around, but lots and lots of things to change, regeneration, motor maps, etc, etc, brake migration, forward migration of brake balance. What's that about? What's the difference between brake migration? Is that some... I'm assuming that's something to do with when it's doing the harvesting or something. We'll find out. Lots of other things, II, etc, 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 so you can skip all the replays and everything else. I must have a look to see if there's a thing to set the replays up, because other than instant replay, I don't know what it does. It may do nothing at the moment. It might be something I haven't done yet. Although I would hope as it's based on R-Factor 2, it's quite good at getting replays, because it always is. Lots of the usual swing cameras, lots of free cameras, free lenses, real-time chat, etc. It's interesting that it seems to, when you move from one to the next, the scroll is in the same place as the previous one. Interesting. Toggle HUD, cycle the mirrors, track maps, etc. Cursors. So you can set your cursor up. Presumably you could use your analog control to do that. Doesn't have direct control via... it's not set up, as far as I could see, to actually have direct control of the UI via gamepad or wheel, although I might have just not found it and got it to work yet. Hopefully all of this makes sense. And that's my throttle, that's my brake, that's my clutch. Presumably it's all using from vehicle. Yep. Oh, here we are. That was head physics. I think I might just leave that as it is for now, and you can have a... right, it's under your calibrate. Of all the weird places to put it, but... right. Usual things like gear, select, hold, etc. Secondary input. I don't know why there's no secondary input, but whatever. And then force feedback, which presumably it's using the same force feedback settings as R-Factor 2. No, I can see no reason why it wouldn't. It's decided to set the torque capability at 8. I assume that's Newton meters, and I assume they've gone, that's one of them wheels that can do 8 Newton meters. So Smoothing 0. Fair enough. Steering bump stop. Presume that's got some sort of soft stop or something. Minimum steering torque. You could spend hours playing with all this lot, so things like collision and curb pull and all that sort of thing, I probably want to have a play with all of that, because you'll probably find it's not to your liking. But you can have, obviously, gamepad and keyboard also in use in parallel, presumably. So lots and lots of options, and they all seem quite sensible. Now we'll go to race weekend. Like I said, I'll have a look at the single player bit, and I'll have a drive around, probably Le Mans. Choice of circuits: Sebring, Portimao, Spa, Monza, Bahrain. Just trying to think, have I actually driven around Bahrain in any cars of late? Probably not for a while. Fuji, which I'm looking forward to trying out, and of course Le Mans. We will go to Le Mans, and I think if you press continue, does it go straight to car class? I can't remember, so I'll choose it anyway. You can define which class you want. We will just have a run through all the cars and all the classes. So you got Aston Martin, Corvette, Ferrari, Porsche. I was looking ahead and reading behind there. In the GTE class, don't forget this is based on 2023, not 2024. So for 2024, I think they've gone to GT3 for their WC stuff, because basically GTE has been dropped because it's pointless having a class that's similar to but not the same as, when there are lots and lots of GT3 cars floating about. You might as well just go with GT3. So I think that was their basic premise. P2, LMP2. You have the choice of the Auriga 07, because they're all the same car. So they're all the Gibson 4.2 litre normally aspirated V8. Now, hypercar class. You have the Cadillac, Ferrari 499. I will be reading off a screen. The Glickenhaus SGC 007, Peugeot 9X8. I don't know if there's some significance to 9 times 8 or 9X8, but whatever. Porsche 963, Toyota GR010, and lastly the Van Wall 680. Yes, Van Wall, who I believe was a bit of a fuss about the use of the name Van Wall by somebody who shouldn't really be using it. But for each class, there are quite a few options on the cars you can choose, with different liveries. I don't know how many is for each, but if you keep scrolling, you'll actually end up on the next car. So you'll end up suddenly finding yourself with a Toyota instead. So it literally just cycles around the whole lot. So we'll go with that one. And then event settings. Interestingly, you can turn on and off the different. It's actually, remember, the last thing I chose as well. So you can actually go through and have, although it's a race weekend, you can have just a practice session, you can have just a qualifying, just race or whatever. So you can pick and choose which ones you want to have. So you can have a practice with a practice race, presumably race with no practice or qualifying. So you can mess about. It's quite a nice way of doing it. It means you don't have to have a separate testing thing, separate this, separate that. It's just race weekend, and you can select which bits of it you want to play with. So I like that. That's good. You can then define which classes are going to be there for the AI as well. So if they're greyed out, they won't be there. I think that's that way around. But if you allow the things, I think you end up with AI based on that. Underneath the advanced options, you get like a lot of the same things you could change. You could just turn the various sessions off here as well. So qualifying off, 12 hours off, etc. You can then set the practice length. I think it was previously set to 0, wasn't it? Probably done something weird because I've changed something. How's it? Oh, you can change that to. There's a way of changing it to 0. I thought it was originally on 0 when I did that, so. It's like everything else, I'm learning as I go, but lots of things you can change, so you can have different lengths of this, that and the other. You can set your grip. I'll leave it on light. Probably means there's not a lot of things to do, but presumably if you set it to private practice, even if you had selected something, it could then be just you, which is what the private practice means. So if you want to make sure you've got no AI, you can just turn that on. Weather-wise, it's default to light clouds. I did find if you hit that, it did weird shit, and I couldn't change between things when I did that earlier, so it's actually working now. On the other machine, it decided it wouldn't change, so I hit the sort of calendar button and it went, okay. So I'll leave it on the, whatever that preset is. Not that it makes a lot of difference. This by default is on ×5, so your time will be 5 times faster than it should be. So if you have a 4-hour session, it'll feel like 20 hours have gone by. So if you want to check sort of day-night transitions, like that's probably the easiest way to do it. I don't know if there's any way of setting what time the session starts, is there? Can you set what time the session starts? Got start time. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can. So you can set that to the middle of the night if you wanted to. So, yes. AI and track limits and things like that, you can set in here. So, spread of AI. So, we'll leave it at that. And we'll hit the start, having just me on the circuit. And it wasn't the fastest load time in the world when I tried it a few minutes ago, so this might take a little time. It might be quicker the second time round, I don't know. We'll see. It might not. It sort of does this weird sort of colours in from that side as it's doing it, which is slightly strange. I don't know if the red is going, is there? It might be. I wasn't really paying attention up there, I was just looking down there, so. Right, tells you the conditions, what the forecast is, live timing, setup. I haven't done anything with the setup. I'll probably have a bit more of a play with it at some point. We're on we have a load of presets. Is that just for your tyres? I think it is. So, expected wear rate, optimum temperatures, lots of interesting information. So, I don't know what else you can do in your setup. Oh, there's your tyre management and car setup. So, you can do a quick and dirty setup, and then there's an advanced setup. So, I'm not too worried about it as is at the moment, because I'm literally going to just drive around and see what happens. Now, first thing to say is, it's got a decent HUD on it, unlike R-Factor 2, which has got bloody awful HUD. We have position, relative position, track map, nice HUD with speed, throttle, brake, revs, gives you how much battery you've got, I think, right at the bottom. Then you've got fuel, how many laps remaining, temperatures, tyres, brakes, current and best lap. It's got everything you absolutely need. So absolutely excellent job on the HUD, I have to say. Bizarrely, my throttle was not doing anything until you put it in gear, and then realise when you come out of the you're thinking, the sound's not working. Sound's not working. That's because we're coming out of the pits on an electric motor. Oh, and for some reason it's decided to start at that point. So I don't know how it decides when it's going to start, because I just had a little bit of a drive around earlier and it didn't automatically turn off the limiter either, which is slightly annoying. I'm finding them probably a bit, for my own personal preference, a little bit low and a little bit far back in the cockpit here. I just wanted an excuse to say cockpit, didn't I? So the brakes are a little bit tinny, stone cold tyres, so we'll try and be a bit careful. Oh. That rattles really nicely through your wheel. FFB, it feels like half factor 2, no surprise, so we will brake nice and early. A little bit of understeer there. The circuit looks really nice. I'm not paying that much attention to it because I'm just driving around, but you don't get thrown off the curbs too badly, so that's good. Might want a little bit of filtering on the FFB. It's a little bit coarse. Is that the right word? Not really. Now I will say I did try to do a lap just to make sure that I actually got all the controls right in the right places, and actually locked up the rear end going into the multi-zone corner there, which is rather interesting. All in all, it looks really nice. It's certainly in terms of graphically, it doesn't feel like my machine is overly stressed. Trying to keep a reasonable frame rate. It looks like it's holding 70 frames per second without any problem at all, so that's good. Now this is the point where I make a complete arsehole of myself trying to turn into here, so I'm brake a little bit early. Feels like I've got a reasonable amount of front end grip now. Whoop, caught the end of that curb a bit. Definitely a bit rattly through the serrations on the curb, so most obvious comparison is going to be IMS2, because IMS2 has recently had the LMDh's added and has Le Mans, and I will say the cars in this definitely feel a bit more RF2-y, difficult to drive, not in a bad way, just if you like the feel of RF2, these are definitely RF2 feeling cars for obvious reasons, as it's basically using the RF2. Whether they've made any advances in various things, I don't know, but in simple terms, it's RF2 with some additional bits and pieces. A little bit of rotation from the car there as I put my foot down. I'm certainly not pushing the car as hard as possible because, like I said, I did try a a lap before I started recording and went, oops, spun, well, I was just trying to, just pushing a little bit too hard. And like I said, this is literally how it feels out of the box. Again, a little bit of back end getting loose there, so. But all in all, they're not. Whoops. I was just about to say they're not super loose, just as the back end locked up. That's me getting about on the limit there. Tyres gone a little bit yellow there from getting a bit warm from the braking zone. So I think these are the softest tyres, so they might be a bit too soft for the weather conditions. Who knows? Seems like it locks up. I think that's the front left locking quite easily into I've forgotten the name of that last bloody corner there. Again, I could hear it and feel it just starting to spin up at the back end there. All in all, I ain't bad. Possibly take a little bit more finessing than AMS2, and it would help if I probably changed a few settings to get a bit more comfortable. I have to say, overall so far it feels reasonably positive. I've literally, I missed the down change there, which is presumably why it beeped at me. That was a downshift protection.
Time 3:39.80.
But yeah, all in all, I have to say, as a starting point, it feels quite good. And like I said, it's got, I think the basics are there, certainly in the single player. As far as online is concerned, I've got no real clue. What we will do, I think we'll just have a quick press of the online button and see what it says. Probably should have had a look to see if there was a replay somewhere. Can you click that and get replays anywhere? Where's replays? Oh, we only got instant replays at the moment then. Well, under my profile, I've not pressed this button. I haven't got a clue. Daily special events, my stats. My stats are crap. They're all 0. Right, so no sign of any replays there. So, and where replays would be, I will investigate further. But we'll just press the online button and see what it says. Right. Right, so we've got daily races, weekly races and special events. So presumably that's all we got at the moment. Locked. You need various different things to unlock various things. Okay. Fair enough. Certainly plenty there to look at and explore at a later date, but that's just a quick look, very quick look. I'll have to try over the next day or two a few different cars, a few different settings. I will have no doubt a few minutes of tweaking, but that's just a very quick first look. Like I said, the circuits look fine. It's got this interesting, I've forgotten what it was called now, Mirillis or something, processing for doing sort of better looking graphics for lighting and things like that. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like and whether or not it runs well on older hardware, which I suspect it will if it's based on the R-Factor 2 engine with some enhancements, it should run quite well on reasonably modest equipment, if you can call a 1080 Ti modest nowadays. Whatever. But like I said, that's just a quick first look. Obviously, I think they've done a good job in terms of allowing settings on setting up race weekends and all the rest of it. None of this, you have to have a separate test day and everything else. You can just go in, set what you want, go straight to a race. You can have just the practice with a race, qualifying with a race, just the race presumably, and there must be a way of setting where you start somewhere. But yeah, so far I'm reasonably hopeful, shall we say. I don't know how long it'll be before you're going to be able to set up your own races and have your, whether there's going to be a dedicated server for it, for setting up races for sort of like club settings and things like that, but we'll see. So far, so good, I think is the short answer. I think the amount of cars and tracks you get for the price isn't bad. So, like I said, about 25 quid. So, a reasonable starting point, shall we say. So, I think that'll do for now. So, for me for now, enjoy racing, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.